Welcome to the winter wonderland of Houghton, Michigan, and the home of Michigan Tech. I'm Nicholas, the team lead of the Washington Wompers, and today I'm going to show you how we made this broadsword.
I'm Daniel, the alloy designer for the Washington Wompers. When we started this project, we kind of knew that steel castings are generally pretty difficult with existing wrought alloys. So we took an existing 4140 steel, which is commonly used in sword making, and we used that as a base composition, adding more silicon to increase fluidity. We also added some vanadium, titanium, as well as copper and nickel to assist in precipitation hardening during our tempering process. In addition to that, we added boron to increase hardenability, and overall our alloy should be tougher, stronger, and maintain good casting properties.
So while Daniel was working on the alloy design, we also took some time to get our design done, and so we started looking towards the past cast and steel project, where they were casting a sword as well. We then decided to design our own sword based off the Alte presentation broadsword that George Washington had. We ran simulations originally on one of our earlier iterations of the design. However, even though the simulations in Altair and Spire cast showed that it would cast, we believed that there was a good chance that it would cold shut, so that led to this last minute redesign that you see now. Here in the pattern shop, we made the pattern for the sword. So we started out originally getting all of our parts printed. The machine shop that was printing them for us ran out of printer filament. So we came back and we had just enough parts to make 2 swords on the board, exactly what we were hoping for. But our redesigned gating wasn't able to be printed. So we had to come in and last minute make it all by hand. And you can see on the pattern how there's the printed parts and the wood parts. The wood parts we made up by hand. The second snag we hit was that we did not believe that the sword would be thick enough to cast. So we added 1/8 inch thick ABS plastic on both sides of the pattern in order to make sure it was thick enough to cast.
So this is where the magic happens. This is the Michigan Tech foundry. Once we had the pattern done, we came down here and we made our molds. We used Chem-Bond sand, which is a type of sand that slowly hardens in about 10 minutes. So once we made the molds, we took those, we put them on these rails right here, and we brought them out to the pouring floor. So we heated our 50-pound furnace back there, and we took it, we poured the metal into the sword. There was a big concern about whether or not the molds would fill, so we had to pour extremely quickly before the metal started to solidify and cool. But both molds filled absolutely perfectly, and we had a fantastic casting.
So after casting, we ended up with pieces that looked like this for the sword, and a piece that looked like this for the handguard. This doesn't look like a very finished product. So we need to take it from looking completely unfinished to a completely finished sword in less than 72 hours. As cast, our swords were about 8.5 pounds, which means we had to take off about 5 pounds of material in order to get to competition weight. So this sword is very heavy. It's not very usable as a sword either. It's very blunt. And if you try to swing it, ooh, it's heavy. So if we look at one that's partially completed, it looks a lot more like a sword. It's kind of got a little bit of an edge in it. So if you swung it, it swings a little bit better. And then of course our final sword comes in as just the blade at about 3.8 pounds.
Once our sword was cast and the handguard was done, the only thing that was left was to finish the handle. So we used this piece of Russian olive wood, we cut it in half, cut out a spot for the tang, and glued everything together. And with that, our sword was finished and ready to ship off to SFSA.